Round 8 set, a little bit different maybe if you turned your TV off at the end of the race. 45 and 22 had a heck of a battle for the final cutoff spot. So a lot to dive into today.
Yeah, the Roval was no disappointment. You know, lots of chaos and a lot of things on the line for the guys in the playoffs. Let's take a look at what Brad Moran had to say after the race last night.
Well, unfortunately, when we were running the 48 through, it didn't pass the minimum weight specs. So we pulled the car off to the side and we allowed them to fuel it, which they already did. We let them fuel it again. We let them run the pumps to make sure all the pickup boxes were full. We give the teams every opportunity to try to meet the minimum weight. We also have to plug in the water and run the water through the system to make sure they're full of water. And then we rescaled it. It still didn't meet the weight. We backed it off and we run it across one more time just to confirm the weights were accurate. And unfortunately, they did not meet the minimum weight. They are allowed a 0.5% of a weight break, which is about 17 pounds, give or take. That is what they're allowed, and it was more than that.
Big controversy, big shakeup in the points with what happened.
Yeah, let's take a look at the rules to try to understand what happened. So after every race, NASCAR does a post-race inspection on multiple cars in the field. In this case, they're going through all the playoff cars and a handful of the front runners at the end of the race. Those post-race inspections include the OSS station, which is the optical scanning station that scans the outside of the body, the underbody scanner, which looks at the underbody, two key areas of performance. One of the other things that they always inspect is the post-race weight on the car.
Yep, and like you said, they always do the top 5, and in the playoffs, particularly cutoff races, they make sure they get everybody, so that way if there is any of these situations, you know, if the 22 is out and this happened, the 22 had to go through inspection as well. So they make sure they get everybody, which is very important. The key right now is this Rule C that we're looking at, the 0.5% of your car weight. And these are weighed without the driver. Everybody has a different rule based on your driver weight. But the answer comes down to somewhere between 16.9 and 17.7 pounds. So basically 17 pounds is the buffer they give you in post-race inspection.
Yeah, and so every car would have passed pre-race weights, and then we would have all done that prior to practice and qualifying on Saturday. After the race, when we go through for post-race inspection, that's when NASCAR allows that tolerance. That 0.5% of the total vehicle weight is intended to account for all the consumable things that a race car could use up during the course of a race. It includes engine oil that gets burnt out, the potential for brake pad wear, you know, many other little things could just wear and lose a small amount of weight over the course of the race, but they do add up, and so that 0.5% is the margin that NASCAR provides. Why does NASCAR check these things pre and post event? These are the key performance areas that the teams are all trying to push as closely as possible. So, you know, it's really no different than speeding on pit road. Every team is trying to be right up against that margin, and it's our job to not step across it. There's potentially unforeseen circumstances even with pit road speed if tires are different than you expect. So, you know, in this case, the weight, they allow you a tolerance, and NASCAR's view of it is that you need to stay inside the limit.
One thing, you know, I heard it after the race. I was sitting back at my couch, and all of a sudden I found out that happened from my wife, who was on Twitter. And so I immediately go to look at what's going on. And one thing that everybody was pointing out is there's a video from our car, actually, of when Alex went across those curbs, kind of shattering some stuff under the car and it flying all over. I think we have that clip here. Let's look at that. Right here's the moment everybody's talking about, because you see some stuff fly off the bottom of the car. We can see nuggets go frame by frame right here, and we can watch. You can hear it, too, when you play it with full audio, that our car hit something. I can tell you, I didn't know about this in the middle of the race, and I didn't see any damage after the race. So to me, as we went frame by frame through this, I think it's probably a diffuser strike. Now, we're purely speculating here, right? But he goes right over those blue turtles. There's a puff of smoke. All this stuff comes out. It looks like it's kind of just floating through the air, something kind of carbon fiber splinters. I don't know that it's anything that would be super heavy.
So here's the standings prior to the ruling that happened after the race with the disqualification of the 48. You can see it flips things upside down, particularly for the 22 and the 48. The 45's still in. He didn't have to race quite as hard to get to where he got to, but it obviously puts the 48 on the outside looking in.